A field of gold. Somewhere in a village tucked away in a wall of forest laid a small village beginning its morning routine. Shops began their final check around their stores before welcoming in their clients. Some of the adults in the village stayed on their porches watching the sunrise. An older orc with faded gray hair tangled in several knots began her morning stretches on her porch as she waited for her tea to cool down, stretching out the battered and scarred muscles that moaned in pain as she pushed on, freeing her joints from her own bone as they all popped back into place. Children ran through the streets as they started their game, armed with wooden-shaped weapons and cloth arrows. They mimicked the stories that guided them to their dreams, all of them free of the price of being an adventurer, a hero, a soldier. The orc woman almost felt jealous of the fact the kids could cheat on this deal. But the dull pains from the pale scars echoed in a reminder that dreams are very patient, that they can be cruel and blind you for what is to come. Everything in the village had locked itself in place of its usual routine, the gears grinding the teeth in place as they continued to rotate in their never-ending path. Then a grain of sand slipped through the cracks. They walked out of the forest like a dark cloud over the sky. The sounds of rusted armor rang throughout the town as they limped down the road. A helmet covered the knight's face as they stepped into the peaceful garden of the town. The knight's clothes stained and tattered as the gentle breezes blew away small pieces of fabric. Members of the town became silent as a cold wave of fear crashed into their feet. Some stared over to the orc woman, who merely raised her hand, blocking off any more of the waves from reaching shore as she focused on the limping knight. The orc woman calmly took a sip of her tea as a wisp of steam brushed against her face. The sweet taste of honey and blueberry filled her mouth as her eyes remained locked on the new guest. "Good morning," the orc woman greeted as a smile sheathed a blade that laid against her chair. The rattles of oxidized steel continued as the knight remained silent, their limp growing with each step they took. The orc woman adjusted her head to get a peek of their eyes through the cracks of the helmet, but was met with a wall of shadows. A tinge on the back of her skull teased her, making fun of her for letting a simple helmet toy her with a sense of familiarity with it she could not catch. Only the children were unaffected by the dark cloud looming over the town. They continued on with their reenactment as the shadow crawled along. The group was deep into their story as they played out a fight, gently crashing their wooden weapons to each other in voices out of their reach. One of them aimed with their tiny bow and padded arrow against their friend, who played the enemy. His small hands shook as he tried to take aim, pulling the arrow back as far as he could, the tension around the bow bending slightly as he finally released the bow, the force launching the arrow into a target, knocking off the helmet of the knight, clattering against the ground with a hard thud. Members of the town felt their hearts sink into the tar pit of fear. The town baker that watched the scene from his window rushed out of his store, running towards his child as the children stopped with their reenactment. Only thoughts of worry of actually hurting someone in their play and getting scolded filled their heads. The orc woman grabbed the hilt of her sword from her chair. Her polite smile dropped as she slowly walked towards the knight. Her muscles around her arms tightened as they woke up, ready to unleash the trained movements that had embedded into her fibers. I'm sorry, mister," the boy said, walking over to the knight. "I didn't mean to hurt you. Are you okay?" Matted chalk-white hair swayed against the wind as the knight bent down to grab the arrow. The knight limped over to the young boy and gently dropped the arrow into his hands. The children's eyes widened as they saw what lay underneath the knight's helmet. Dead, pale skin covered a sunken, hollow face. Edges of bones poked against the skin as if it was paper. Cloudy blue eyes stared down at the boy as his fragile skin wrinkled into something that was crudely shaped into a smile. It was as if the corpse had walked out of the morgue. The decayed knight gently waved as they limped away, the children frozen as their thoughts tried to regather what happened. Shouts from the baker broke the town's silence as he rushed over to his child and picked him up in his arms, asking them if they were okay, if the corpse hurt them. The child took a second from each word to answer the bombardment of questions that flooded their ears. The orc woman remained still as she watched the knight continue their walk further into town. Her mind finally caught what her thoughts were teasing her with. The bolt of lightning shocked her body as she watched the living ghost walk away from her. Adel? The knight limped along the road, keeping their face forward as his eyes locked onto the barn that was on the edge of town. He could feel the strings of fate pulling his legs along. He was almost there. The knight could make out the details of a small barn painted in blue. The tops of something of golden brown swaying softly over the edge of the small hill. Even if he couldn't feel the wind blowing across his face, he could still hear their words. I live on top of a hill in my town, the voice spoke. Their chipper tone felt like fire in the knight's empty chest. I grow wheat there, but I don't always sell a lot. Most of the time, I just like to look at them during the sunrise. They almost look like gold when the sun hits them. You should come visit. I think you like it. It was those words that carried the knight to battle, that eased his wounds from war after war. Endless nights that carved fear into his chest. Those words echoed in his ears as he fell to the ground for the last time, ringing in his skull day after day, weaving the remaining pieces of his body to form the husk he was walking in, being led by a ghost for what he desired. I would love for you to be with me after this is all over. It didn't matter if the pieces of his armor continued to fall as he walked closer to the hill. His joints stiffer with each step, he treaded on, picking up the pace as the house became clearer, inviting to a home he had dreamed to join in weathered tents underneath smoky skies. A loud snap cracked the air as the knights took a step forward. The sound pulled them down to the ground, crashing his face into the dirt. Silent orders slipped out of the skull's mouth to move. Get up, continue walking, and see them. It was them that brought them back to life. He had to see them. He made a promise, sealed with a kiss and a ring. He would come to see. No responses came from his legs. Something had taken them away from him. The world had known he was not supposed to be here. He had escaped the fate that was destined for all things who had a heart. This destiny had no pity, no emotions to pull to his side. All it cared about was bringing order to the plane it rested in. The knight reached forward and dug his hands into the dirt, dragging himself closer to the barn. Each pull brought him closer to his destination, avoiding the bites of nature for a second. He would not return to the dirt. He would not be buried among the rotting pile of corpses again. He will see the one person who kept him alive all these years, for one chance to say goodbye. The knight could feel something scoop him up as they gently carried them closer to the house. The knight looked up to see the orc woman carrying him. Even through wrinkles and curtains of gray hair, he could still see his captain from all those years ago. I don't think they want to see you crawling like that, Adel, the orc woman said. The knight's dried lips formed something that shadowed a smile, gently raising an arm and patting her on the shoulder. The orc woman swallowed down a knot that had formed in her throat. The last few steps came, and the two were on top of the hill, staring at the fields of gold swaying against the beams of the rising sun. The knight wished he could cry, but nothing but dust fell from the corner of his eyes. I'd wish you were still alive, the orc woman choked. After the fights, we never saw your body, so I'd hoped you ran to see them. They always said you'd come back, so I guess they were right, in a way. The knight glanced over at the house. Up close, the house that had lived in his thoughts was nothing but a skeleton in the real world. Blue paint chipped and peeled off the wood of the house, planks broken off and barely hung on their nails. Windows shattered or covered in shawl of dust. The house appeared to not be lived in for decades. They said you just got lost in the last fight and you would find your way back to us, the orc woman whispered, droplets of tear running down her face. They always wait for you by the campfire during night watch. I tried so hard to keep an eye on them, but no matter what I did, everyone continued to fall into the pile. The orc looked down at her friend, who had just a small smile left on his face, letting the wind carry him as dust, dancing along the fields of gold that was told to him at a campfire during night watch. Hey everybody, thank you for listening to the end of this video here. Hey everybody, thank you so much for listening to the end of this video. If you like what you heard, then please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Ring the bell so you're notified for any juicy more or cool dope-ass stories like this. And you may be wondering, well, Dice, where did this story come from? Well, my good friend, I got some news for you. It is from my Patreon. That's right, I have a Patreon tier where you guys get to help me write these stories. Exactly. This happens every single month. You guys vote on what decisions will happen, what the characters will do, what the plot will be. It's always a fun exercise. I love doing it to bits, and it's just really cool, fun game I love to playing with you guys. Follow me on my socials like Twitter and Instagram to keep up to date with all the nerdy stuff I get myself involved in. If you want to keep up to date with new Fighter Saga stuff, then please follow me on my TikTok where I post videos on there every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I also stream on Twitch every Sunday, Wednesday, and Saturday. So, go look in for that for some good old chaotic Kindle stuff. And now, special patron shout out. Luke Eccles, Douglas Kislook, Raven Garvin, Nix Durham, The Chill Sun, DJ M, Blue, Aaron, Senria, Zachary Lowry, Pyros Nikos, Jackie Ann Blair, Caitlin Gullickson, Los Atten, Stephen Fawn, Adam Gollinger, Isabel Rakimoff, Bay Flower, Bobby Joe Casto, Tabitha Elizabeth Allison Trammell, and Tanisha Kaneda. And if you want your names to get shouted out at the end of these videos, then please become a $1 tier member of my Patreon. Also, if you want to, support your favorite content creator, please buy some dope-ass merch, like, at this website called, And, if you want to support your favorite content creator and get some dope-ass merch, then please go check out Dice&Autism-shop.fourthwall.com. With there, you get a lot of cool-ass stuff that'll give you, just a bit of high charisma, just a little bit high. Because we all want some high charisma to deal with the day, I don't know why I'm talking so in a high-pitched voice. But yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. You guys have a lovely, lovely day, and I will see you guys later, okay? Alright, be kind to yourselves. Peace.